LiberalViewer presents.
So with Massachusetts making simple possession of a small amount of marijuana a civil infraction punishable by a fine rather than a crime punishable by jail time, it's only natural that courts there would no longer find it reasonable to suspect a crime is occurring just from the smell of burnt marijuana, which is just what the highest court in Massachusetts found last week, ruling that the smell of burnt marijuana alone is not enough to justify ordering a passenger out of a parked car. But when Fox News got a hold of the story in its so-called no-spin zone, Bill O'Reilly kept claiming the ruling applied to the driver, not the passenger, and that the court blocked investigation of drivers under the influence, as you can still see from the video's title on the Fox News website and from the introductory clip here.
The highest court in Massachusetts has ruled 5-1, that Bay State police officers should not bother drivers, even if they smell marijuana in a parked car. On paper, that looks like one of the dumbest rulings in history. Do these judges not know that thousands of Americans are killed every year in DUI accidents?
Now, not only did Bill O'Reilly falsely claim there that the case applied to drivers instead of passengers and that the case would block investigation of DUIs, but one of the two lawyers he brought on, Wendy Murphy, immediately bolstered his false analysis in this clip.
So, Wendy, there's got to be something more to this, right? I mean, the judges on the Bay State's highest court is saying, hey, go ahead, smoke marijuana in your car, drive around, have a good time.
Well, that is the gist of the ruling, if you ask me.
Of course, that's not the gist of the ruling, and the closest the no-spin zone came to correcting that misinformation was the argument from criminal defense attorney Jeffrey Nathan, who did at least point out the case was about the rights of passengers here.
This case pertained to the rights of a passenger being stopped by the police and then ordered out of a stopped motor vehicle bill. The analysis pertained to what are the rights of the police to order a passenger to get out of a car.
Now, one mistake Jeffrey Nathan made there was to say it was a stopped car rather than a parked car, which the police approached because it was parked in front of a fire hydrant, and Bill O'Reilly ridiculously pounced on it being a stopped car, as you can see in the continuation of that clip here.
Number one, you can't order a passenger out of a car that's driving because you'll kill him. Okay, so that goes off the board. Number two, if you have if you have an open can of alcohol in the car, that's a crime. So now you're telling the cops, hey, grab the beer, but let the doobie go. Let the guy do whatever he wants. And you can't assume you can get a contact high in a car by marijuana smoke.
Now, in the facts of the actual case, there was no doobie visible in the car to fit Bill O'Reilly's open container analogy, and O'Reilly's contact high argument also had absolutely nothing to do with the facts the Massachusetts court considered, because in that case, the person sitting in the driver's seat of the parked car had actually admitted smoking marijuana, which is just one more important fact that no one on Fox News ever mentioned, though again, Jeffrey Nathan did at least try to bring up the passenger issue again here.
The passenger on a motor vehicle, in order to be ordered out of a car, the police have to have a specific articulable facts to warrant that.
Yeah, he's smoking marijuana. That's what the fact is.
It's a civil infraction in Massachusetts.
It's a $100 fine. He's in the car. He could be intoxicated. Let him walk the line. They have a line you walk. Okay?
Not okay, because nothing in this Massachusetts case about when police can order a passenger out of a parked car prevents police from making the driver walk the line, and the court even pointed out in the opinion that the police officers had chosen themselves not to make the driver walk the line, writing, quote, "The officers neither cited the driver for parking in front of a fire hydrant nor asked for his license and registration. Neither officer conducted any field sobriety tests to determine if the driver was presently under the influence of marijuana. Instead, the officers called for backup, and 4 additional officers arrived on the scene in 2 marked cruisers. Once backup arrived, and based on the odor of marijuana and just the way they were acting, both the driver and the passenger were ordered out of the car," unquote. And again, the case only determined the police should not have ordered the passenger out of the car. But the bogus DUI argument was never debunked by anyone on Fox News, with Bill O'Reilly spinning the ruling into some ridiculous right to be stoned on a highway going 80, as you can see in the continuation of that clip here.
Not in Massachusetts.
I can't believe that you are comfortable having people driving on a mass turnpike stoned. You think that's great?
I think it's an individual's right to decide what they want to do.
To be stoned on a highway when you're going 80. That's their right to do that. Well, what's your right when you get whacked by that guy and you're dead?
I'm not worried about what happens to somebody else in a car accident. I'm worried about the police intrusion on my civil liberties.
I just don't think the criminal defense attorney corrected enough of the misinformation Bill O'Reilly kept shouting to give a clear picture of the case to viewers of the so-called no-spin zone, but as unbalanced as that presentation was, viewers of the show this week got even less information when Bill O'Reilly brought on libertarian John Stossel to talk about several issues, including the Massachusetts case, and this time there was no one to correct O'Reilly's dishonest spin of the ruling that never mentioned it only applied to passengers and continued playing up the bogus DUI connection, as you can see here.
There was a crazy case in Massachusetts where the federal court, the top court, not the federal court, the top state court, said that cops smelling marijuana in a parked car can't bother the people in the car. I think it's insane because of the DUI stuff. Does the government owe us to be proactive on DUI cases?
And people accuse me of asking loaded questions, but O'Reilly's loaded question there was based on a totally false premise, like the famous "have you stopped beating your wife" question, while the loaded questions I ask are always loaded with premises for which I provided evidence in my video, like now when I ask, is it fair to call a Fox News program a no-spin zone that takes a case about the rights of a passenger in a parked car and spins it into a case about the right of drivers to speed down the highway under the influence? And on the actual legal issue the real case addressed, if simple possession of marijuana is no longer classified as a crime, should the smell of burnt marijuana alone give police reason to suspect a passenger in a car is engaging in criminal activity?
YouTube, you decide.